is that moment for you?
One of the biggest, they accidentally deleted one of the airlines from the world. From that moment on, I actually know to read every single line of the production scripts that I'm executing.
Cloud para todos.
Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Cloud para Todo Podcast. Yes, you are on the right place, the same podcast as you know, but more open to the world. In today's episode, get ready to uncover the secrets of designs a secure and agile architecture. Maybe you are just starting out in a DevOps, or maybe you are already doing some Terraform plans. You can get even better. You are definitely in the right spot. Today we are going to talking about something specific, your career, and how the stuff you learn actually can help you out. We are gonna to dive in what DevOps looks like in a real world, and what is behind the scenes of that. So yeah, you are in the place to learn about that. Cloud para Todo Podcast. But I am not flying solo here. I got a special guest with me. Jack is a DevSecOps with more than 10 years of experience building and managing cloud infrastructure. Companies like Sabre, Oracle could be familiar for you. Wow, he worked for this one on mission critical systems. And actually, he founded Let's Go DevOps, a company that helps other designs, building and maintain cloud-native application, and obviously the infrastructure. For Jack, cloud transformation is the best, and he promotes the DevOps culture as we do in this channel. Say hey, Jack.
Hi, hello. Thank you very much, Hector, for a warm welcome. And yeah, let's get started.
Yes, for sure. But we move to the good question that I know that the people are waiting for that. I really want to, because I know you live in Poland. I recently visited some cities around the three things that we can do on your city, and why you recommend this place.
Okay, so first let me start that I live in the village near Krakow, or actually near Wieliczka, and the place where I usually go is Wieliczka. That's famous for its salt mine. So if you are in the region, this will be definitely the place you will go to. It's a really impressive mine. Also, near city center, we have a couple of really good restaurants, so you can eat something really good. And entire village, or entire city of Wieliczka, because basically it's a city. It's really nice place to walk through. So you can spend 1 or 2 days just walking around through parks and so on. So it's a really lovely place to visit.
Yes, for sure. I visit Krakow and I feel charmful when I walk around the city and see and visit different places on there. Yes, it's a good place to be.
So
Uh,
one thing that you may want to do when you're in Krakow is actually grab a train. It's like 20 minutes down the road, and you exit the train in the center of Wieliczka. The train
uh,
runs every 30 minutes or so, so like you can just come into the train station and just jump on the train and come see the Wieliczka city.
oh, okay, so cool. I don't know that about that. Maybe I can go to the bucket list, my big bucket list, but I used to accomplish that.
So if
Uh,
you'll be around, then just remember to ping me on LinkedIn,
yeah,
and we can meet for some steaks or some good food in Wieliczka.
yes, for sure. And Bob, I have an interesting question, because I don't know if you, when you are working, when you are doing some free activity, do you used to have some playlists, young signer prefer, or what kind of music do you like?
So yes, I have my playlist. It's mostly rock, hard rock, and metal music, so pretty intense. Uh, but I will not tell you the details because I have this one band that is actually putting me in the coding mood, or hardcore mood to do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Is if you agree with that, could be perfect. We know that when we are working as a DevOps, obviously it's not a career that you study on the university. You don't study that um, on a regular path, if we can say that, because maybe I don't know what is your experience. But when we are working as a DevOps, as a culture, as a position in a company, we have to think, okay, it is my moment right now, but I used to face some moments in your career that you have to say, oh, okay, what's going on? Can you tell us what is that moment for you? What moment you say, okay, I in that position, I used to do something that is can be impact our rest of the work, can be impact our rest of the company that I work. What is that moment for you in your career?
Well, so it depends how do you want to impact the entire world. Because when it comes to being a disruptor, we work with a lot of startups, and a lot of those startups actually did a fair disruption in the market. So, like from product perspective, we are building infrastructure for really great companies that are actually doing, in many cases, a really good change to the way we are working or dealing with the stuff every day. But I think that your question is more like what I did or the technology that I'm working at actually can impact positively a lot, because it's always the story of success. But if I remember from my very early days, one of the biggest what have I done moments was when I executed a script a little bit prematurely on production, haven't read all the parameters inside, and I accidentally deleted one of the airlines from the from the world. So yeah, it wasn't. We quickly recovered from it because it was a soft delete, so it was more of a locked than deleted. But on the very first thing that I noticed, like, hey, I just accidentally blocked one of the airlines, so they cannot book, they cannot fly, and so on. So that was one of my, I think, biggest problems or biggest impacts that I had. Thankfully, I had a really great team. I was a junior over there, so the guys quickly come in. They were not yelling so much as I thought, but we managed to recover pretty quickly. So yeah, that's my biggest failure, I believe. Something that, the lesson learned is that before you execute any script on production, you need to understand what you're doing and what the script is doing. So that was my lesson from that day. And yeah, this is something that I really remember every time I log into any production console.
Yeah, for sure. I remember some situations like that. And I can tell to the rest of the people, if you have maybe some script to execute on production, think twice or more before do that. And always, if you can automatize this solution before you do in a manual process to be secure that you are doing a good job. But yes, it's amazing that situation, and we can reflect and we can be uh, reflect on that situation as well. Well, Jack, we have been seeing countless company struggle with security versus the agility, because I don't know why, but on the work we can get all the things. You have some dilemma during your life, and the cloud migration is the same. You have to position only one topic, maybe all the infrastructure, all the effort to the security part, or all the effort to the agility part. How do you think cloud professional navigate with this complex landscape? How do you feel about that? How what kind of recommendation you can do to the rest of the people who are starting on the careers as a DevOps, or maybe is a person who have some trajectory as a DevOps in terms of security and agility?
Okay, so first of all, let me start that I truly believe that security and agility, especially of development, can actually coexist. Because in many places you actually hear it's like either we do security or we do agility, and that's it. And the answer that I usually have for this question is let's do a platform engineering. Because the truth is that when you think about developer experience and developer agility or productivity, usually what developers means is like, give me all the admin credentials and I will do it my way or myself. Now, this usually ends up in him spending 2 weeks or building infrastructure. Uh, that's pretty common in the company. Usually he doesn't play well with teams like security, privacy, compliance, and so on. So he builds infrastructure for his business case, not necessarily for the stuff that company also need to do engineering. So I want to build components, the big blocks that you can just take away and use them to power your application. So instead of spending 2 weeks, in the happy path, you spend 15 minutes of getting exactly the same result. And of course, there is this caveat that, okay, sometimes you are building stuff that is really, really unique and you need a really, really unique component of the platform. And yes, in this case, we need to get together, understand the stuff that you want to do, come up with the solution, and prepare a new component for entire company to use. But when I look on the spectrum of security versus agility, I usually want to have a common building blocks that are, secure, that are approved by a company policies and so on, that you can easily use. So as a developer, you can actually run in the direction that you want to run without thinking about all the heavy baggage that is there from compliance and security team, because it's a lot of stuff usually from the guys.
Just for sure. Maybe we can just explain to the rest of the people who doesn't know what is the platform engineer, what is a platform, because maybe you are building some standalone solution and you don't know what is a platform. How you can explain as a 5 old child this information for the rest of the people.
So basically, as a developer, what you want to do is you want to run your features on production. You actually don't care about the servers, serverlesses, databases, and so on. From your perspective, what's important is delivering the feature. And what platform does is it actually enables you, so builds all the groundwork for the stuff that you're doing. So if you think about it, if you want to do it on your own, you need to, in cloud, go to AWS, create a VPC, networks, some kind of runtime environment. It can be either EC2 or you can go into serverless or Kubernetes, whatever. You have multiple options. You have to have a place for file storage. You have to have a place for your web assets and so on and so on. Now, this is tedious job that you as a developer shouldn't care about. From your perspective, what only is important is the name of the application. And that's it. Like, you probably know that it should have a database, but okay, maybe the engine is important, but the fact that it's encrypted, who owns the KMSs, what the backups are, or where the backups are located, if we're copying them to secondary region, what's the backup policy, and so on and so on, this shouldn't bother you at all. Like the same goes with a runtime environment. Whether we choose EC2s because of something or we go with Kubernetes because of something, from your perspective as a developer, the only thing is that your application should be deployable there. There should be health checks, so I know that my application is up and healthy, and it should scale up and down when I need it to do. So as a developer, you want to interact with a product that is designed for you to run your applications. And now you might think about stuff like, I don't know, Heroku or something like this. This is basically a platform that you can get. But usually those platforms like Heroku, they are okay for early startups where you just, well, have a minimal amount of microservices. But in many cases, we are operating with hundreds of microservices. And in this case, you usually need to have an internal platform and internal engineering team that's actually working on optimizing the platform for your needs. Because also those needs are different, right? We have companies that have a lot of scrutiny when it comes to security. We have companies that have huge volumes of data that you need to optimize for long-term storage. And all of those platforms are a little bit different, and they shift to the direction the company needs to go.
The famous phrase go to the market
When it comes to
because you
security,
have to think
well,
about your product.
usually the
You
biggest
don't
issue
how
is
to
that
host.
companies are actually
It's a good
putting
solution.
too
Obviously,
much
is
stuff on the public
don't fit
internet.
for everybody. You have to know when it fits for you. But you are speaking about components, about the choice that we used to design a cloud architecture, but it can be easy overlook the real world impact that we make when we design a good solution or a bad solution as well. Could you share some example how the architecture decision can impact on the security or maybe on the performance on application or a data store that you have to struggle with that?
So those are a couple of questions. Like, yes, the good architecture actually will empower you and your system to be secure and performant. And when it comes to decisions that I can see that are impacting the applications, like when it comes to performance, usually what I see it's a internal application structure or application architecture that doesn't play well with scaling up and down, right? So it's either manual process, is it needs some kind of resharding, adding a new instances is not that easy. So part of actually uh, helping companies to build cloud native applications is looking on the application itself, making sure that when we design the application, we know how to scale it up, how to connect to other microservices, and do all the groundwork for cloud native application. So when it comes to performance, application is not a bottleneck. So in here, having the separation of the internal APIs and external APIs, this is something that takes away probably half or maybe even 80% of the pain of the security team that they have, because a lot of communication that comes in the microservices world is actually inter-services communication. You don't need to expose it to a user. So as much as you can put into your VPC, make sure that it's in this secure bubble, makes it a lot easier for security and compliance team to make sure that, you're secure and compliant.
Yes, because I used to the cloud is secure, but we in a cloud and we make the cloud less secure than I used to. And then we have to think what kind of solution you are building, what kind of communication, as you say, we are building. In that way, we can make the security part accomplish maybe when some compliance, some best practice. Sometimes you have no choice about the service, about the designs itself, but you have to think about that. Yes, it's a real challenge when you are designing some solution. It's not just taking some service and connect together and say, hey, it's working. It's not about that. And in my opinion, to study, you have to prepare for that. Obviously, some certification can help to you to understand what service can be effective for that solution and what service maybe is not a good fit for that solution. On security part, on the cost part, every day, because when we are building some solution on the cloud, we are spending some money, maybe a few of them, but we are spending money, and we have to think is a good solution, but it's a cost effective, as we know on a lot of blog posts and some publication, and you have the phrase, please build an effective solution for that, or something. It's an interesting topic. I don't know what tip can you give to the rest of about this information, Jack.
So when it comes to cloud cost, There is this joke about, giving you $1 million or $10 million and say you need to spend it in one day. There is one rule: you cannot spend it on AWS because, well, if you do it wrong, AWS can actually cost you a lot of money. I think one of the greatest examples of how can you burn through a lot of money is like we have this one data engineer that was working a lot with Redshift. And with Redshift, we had a data source of, well, all the databases in the company, probably like 50 or 60 databases. And what he wanted is he wanted to get information about number of records in within one query. So if you think about the problem, it's like select, count, star from each of the tables. But instead, he used Redshift. He did a collection compiling all the data and did a distinct select count. It counted for like 3 days and costed $6,000 to actually compute in the end the result of, well, 3 records, count of rows in 3 tables. So this is where you can go with the cloud if you don't use it properly, right? This is extreme case where the cloud actually can cost you a lot. But on the other hand, cloud gives you option to spend less. And this is usually a tricky because when I come to the companies and they are thinking about cloud migration, usually you have those guys with Excel spreadsheets and they tell you that, okay, I can buy a server for 3 years. This is my price. If I buy EC2 for 3 years is plus 50% or plus 100% whatsoever, right? So they think about the stuff in the cloud like it's static, right? So in my server room, I had 1,000 servers. Now I will have 1,000 EC2s. The thing that they don't realize is, and the toughest part of the discussion, is that in data center, you are planning for your top moment, so the top traffic. When in cloud, you can actually ditch most of the compute whenever you don't need it anymore. So if you have a business or company that actually goes in these ups and downs, what you can do is you can ditch most of the servers through most of the time. So one of the companies that we have has a really great example of this kind of activity because they are having a invoicing service. If you think about invoices, especially in the small businesses, usually what you do is you have a couple of invoices every day or even no invoices for most of the month. And when the end of the month comes, everyone, absolutely everyone, is doing a lot of stuff with his invoicing platform. So the flow that they have is that for most of the month, they are actually running on 2 servers, while on the peak, on the 2 or 3 days during the end of the month, they are running on 60 servers and then getting back to 2 servers for the rest of the month. Now, if you think about the cost of it, we are not paying for 60 servers up front. We are only paying for 2 servers, and remaining 60 actually come in whenever we need those. So this is the biggest benefits of the cloud, that you can actually scale up and down whenever you need. So the cost actually is not a constant value that you can just put in the Excel and easily calculate it. It's a little bit more complicated to make it right. Also, if you are over some kind of threshold, there are additional options for cutting off the costs, like using a spot instances that are, off-market instances. So for the additional compute that you have, you can actually use even cheaper machines.
If in 2025 you don't know what is about the spot instance, you have to know about that. You have to discover this kind of instance because it's a great time to learn about that and use it, because the most of the case you can use as a spot instance and you can save a lot of money and a lot of effort on your platform, on your solution. And when we are speaking about solution, obviously we are thinking about computing, because sometimes we miss that when we develop some solution on the cloud, we are using computing in a good way. We are using memory for another kind of workloads, if we can say. But what about the edge computing? Do you think the edge computing, in terms maybe on Gen AI or something like that, is a big topic today, of what is the future on edge computing.
So looking at the edge computing, because we are using more and more of single page applications, it's good to actually have compute as close as possible to the user. It depends what you actually need. So there is no easy answer, right? Not necessarily need to push everything to the edge, because in many cases, it's a lot easier from architecture design to have a centralized place where you're doing most of the compute. Maybe split it by continents or countries whatsoever. But from my perspective, what I look usually into pretty straightforward, easy design, right? So solid design instead of actually pushing everything to the edge and making sure that, cost, the latency in many cases is not as important as you think, right? Because the user, when it makes an action, he can wait. And how long? 250 milliseconds. I think you will not notice it. From a compute perspective, 250 milliseconds is a lot of time that you can spend on different cases. But on the other hand, we have companies that are doing a high performance compute in the cloud. And in here, when you have to provision like P5 instances, which H100 graphic cards, so it's like those are extremely beefy machines. They are not available in all data centers. You need to pre-order those and so on. If you are building application around this concept, it actually makes the decisions a little bit different because you need to have a centralized location, 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever, but you need to make sure that user thinks that the response is instant while you are actually utilizing your high performance compute resources in the most optimized way, because those are extremely expensive hardware components. So
it's not the same as a regular instance. If you don't know, it's a super expensive computing part.
Yes, and what you want to do with it is saturate it like 100% utilization, because you cannot up and downscale this part easily. So instead, what you are trying to do is you try to build a queuing system. You want to make use of those graphic cards as much as possible, while the user, you actually need to trick him in order to think that, either his answer was instant or he's in the queue, or he needs to pay more or have a higher plan to actually be in priority queue and so on. But this is a relation between the hardcore infrastructure part and the business that you need to figure out to make sure that the user doesn't complain about the decisions that you need to make. Because unfortunately, moving those H100s to the edge, it will be more tricky than you think.
When we are thinking about the massive information that when we have to move to the cloud, is a big question, because you have to think about entry data and the out data as well, because all need to out of the cloud, and you have to think about that, how this information move around the world, how this information move are inside of the cloud as well. This massive data set can be a struggle if you don't design well. You have a good point. Maybe some people your presentation about how you manage a lot of data, a lot of auditing logs, and you use the cloud to audit all the information. What information can you tell us about the challenge to audit a lot of terabytes of data, and how do you process that? How do you process this information in an excellent way?
So to give a little bit more context to the question, we actually had a project where a client came to us. It's a gaming or gambling even industry, so they have a lot of audit data. The audit data that for a legal reasons need to be spread across the world, and it needs to be in certain places.
It's a
And
compliance.
yeah, compliance part. On my presentation, I told the point, the floor is lava, right? Everything that I don't understand when it comes to technology and the decision doesn't make sense. It's just the floor is lava. I cannot go this direction because of compliance, and that's it. So he came to us having around half of the petabyte of data spread across entire Europe. What we did was we actually go through all the data that he had, classified it, changed the form of the data, how it's stored, and then move it to cloud. And what we did is, first of all, we he didn't believe in the very beginning. But first of all, we dropped the cost dramatically because he was spending around $23,000 a month for the infrastructure that he had for this half of petabyte of data. And after we migrated him to the cloud, he was spending only $500 for storage, plus additional around $500 for compute for crunching the data and preparing the reports that the auditors actually wanted. And that was one of the cases. The second one was simplifying the flow, because in the very beginning, what we actually got from him was around 20 databases that were scattered across Europe. A lot of them were using a replication or some kind of data movement into there just to hold the data. The data was structured in the way that his production database is structured. So it was optimized for, real-time searches and so on, while we had completely different use case for the data. So we started from gathering the data, gathering the information about the architecture of the system. That was hard because there were like 4 or 5 versions that were never upgraded, and the people that developed the first versions were already gone from the company. So it makes it a lot more tricky to actually get to know the system. But this is how we started. We did a deep dive to understand why is it designed this way. Then we did a additional round with stakeholders, asking them what they actually want from the system. And this is also a really tough discussion if you think about it, because when you come to the guys that are using it, it's like, okay, what do you need? And he's like, I'm opening this window here, I'm doing this stuff, and this pops out. And it's not the answer to my question, because you are showing me how you are using the stuff that you currently have. I'm asking you to close this part for now and think about how you want to use the system. And when they opened up, we actually created architecture for it. We moved the data. It was a pretty long project, but we moved all the data. We reduced compute time for every query, because previously they needed around 24 hours to get with the response for the auditor. And now they need only 11 seconds to get exactly the same data. So it's a huge bump from their perspective. And it actually opened a new path, because a lot of the teams actually noticed that now they have access to the data, they can crunch it, and they can answer questions that previously it was impossible for them to actually ask about. So now the access to data, the use of data that they can play now with the data, it opened up new paths for the company.
Yes, for sure. We became investigator as well, as you say, when we develop some solution, when we are designing some solution, because the rest of the people doesn't express properly, and you have to do the right question to summarize that point and create the solution that the person are waiting for. And then we have to do a right question. If I tell you as a listener of this podcast, I can say to you, please do the right question in the right moment to prevent any discuss around the project, and can save to you a lot of time, can save to you a lot of money, and a lot of Jack. We are just coming to the end, but we have some more question to discuss with you, because thinking on the people, we are thinking on we are we why we create this career. If you could take yourself 5 years ago, what do you tell to do first? What kind of information do you talk with you 5 years ago?
Okay, 5 years ago, where was I 5 years ago? I think it was beginning of the pandemic. More or less.
More or less. Maybe
So-
one year more.
So around the pandemic time, I think the thing that I was most afraid, or stuff that I didn't realize back then, is that you should think about the team and the people that you are with. Because previously I was working in the companies, the product companies, and the team was built, as you know, I don't want to say property because it's not the right word, but the process of building team was actually managed by the company that was hiring us. And during the pandemic, where actually a lot of stuff crashed on the market, we also had to let go some of the guys from the team. And even that it was only a budget issue, so only a budget issue where we wanted to cut down our salaries to keep the team in place.
Yes.
We needed to let go some of the people, and it's what I realized later on. It doesn't have to be this way. So starting Let's Go DevOps was actually a idea of putting back the people that I really enjoyed working with, the people that have the same driver, that are so focused on technology, that love the same stuff that I do. And I have a really great people around me, and like focusing on the part that, yes, you can find the people that click with you. This is, I think, the biggest thing that I would like to tell my former self, because for many years, I was thinking that, I'm in some kind of environment and I need to adapt. While the truth is that I'm in this environment, but I need to find people that I really enjoy working with. And this makes a huge difference in the way you are looking on the project.
If you could do something different in your professional career, what could be?
I'm not sure if I would ever do something different, because I have
Or
this
better, if you want.
maybe better, but I have this idea that every lesson or everything that I do should be a lesson. So even the failures and the stuff that, not perfect, they actually ended up with some kind of reflection about what to do and how to evolve. So if I look on my career, you may think that a lot of the years were wasted, because I worked with a really hardcore mainframe when I started job, right? My first job. And like, I'm not using this knowledge at all. But it was extremely cool experience to work with it. They had a lot of cool technological concepts that now I'm using in the cloud as a concept, not necessarily as an execution. And I learned a lot over there. I worked in Oracle, and I also learned a lot of stuff. It was not a cloud journey, but it gave me a lot of knowledge. Also, the stuff is not something that I'm using, because I'm currently not using too many of the Oracle products, and I'm nearly certified in like half of their technologies because I was inside. Uh, so I'm not using the knowledge, but I'm using the concepts.
Yes, you
By
have the,
building
the
up the stuff.
baseline about this topic, and you can move forward to that.
Yeah. So even my greatest failure, so removing this customer from production, it's like from that moment on, I actually know to read every single line of the production scripts that I'm executing. And I should probably say I would do this part different, right? I would not remove the client. But in the end, it actually gave me a knowledge and experience that I need. So yeah, maybe this is a recommendation. Don't think about what you would change, but think about the lessons that you learned in the past, and make sure you will not make the same mistakes as you did previously.
Well, I don't have to say more, Jack. Actually, I very hopeful to be with you today on this episode and say some final words, and the micro is from your side.
Haven't prepared a speech for the end. So first of all, Hector, thank you very much for having me on your podcast. It was a really pleasure to be here and to talk with you. I encourage you to come to Wieliczka, and everyone who will come in, remember to ping me on LinkedIn, and either we'll have a walk or a good meal in Wieliczka. So keep on doing what you're doing. Make sure that you have a lot of pleasure in the stuff that you are exploring, and maybe let's meet on some conference or somewhere, because the face-to-face contact is something that I really lack after the pandemic. So yeah, hopefully it will be more of those meetups.
Yes, yeah, yeah, for sure. I really enjoy drinking some things different when I visit, and well, I enjoy that. I can say because you too, as you know, how it is.
Yeah, I think this is something that we need to continue offline.
Exactly.
I'm not sure if it's a topic for podcast, but yeah, definitely understand what what you meant.
Thank you, Jack, for these times. Well, see you later in a podcast in a world. Well, see you and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. See you guys.
I have no extra word to say today than thank you to you to hear the full episode of this podcast. And well, I hope this information can be useful for you. If you have some comment breakdowns on the box below of the video. Thank you so much for being here today. I don't know what cool topic we can discuss on this channel, but I am 100% sure you can enjoy. Thank you and well, nos vemos en la nube. Bye bye.